Everyone to the right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, roll call. Councilmember Compton.
Here.
Emily Baker. Here. Farrell. Here. Happy. Excused. Keller.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Mayor Bell. Here. All right, additions or amendments to the agenda?
I would like to move 7B up to after consent agenda to allow the wonderful staff to go down. They have not had a day out in 2 weeks. We want to give them a chance to bring an update on how the city responded to the storm over the last week and then some.
I would like to make a motion to.
Which is stand up.
Yeah, I'd also like to make, actually not an addition, but a subtraction. I believe the action items, number 6, all of them should be removed from this meeting and tabled until next meeting because we did not get our packets out or receive them in less than 12 hours prior to the meeting. And according to Council Procedures 4.2.b, in the last sentence of it, it says, agendas and packets are distributed to council and available to the public for review or purchase not later than the 4th business day prior to the meeting, Wednesday. So to stay in accordance with this, we should suspend 6. And also because the public has not had a chance, proper time to review it, nor has council. In fact, I did not even get to look at the packet until like 4:30 this afternoon. So that's what I have.
I would second that. Yeah. I've already had a few community members say, we haven't had a chance to look at it yet. Okay, so what's the consensus of the council?
I have a question about the financial policy. Is there any negative to waiting
No, not at all.
on these action items?
Okay. So would it be consensus to these action items moving them to the next city council meeting?
Yeah.
Councilman Howell?
My fear is that it just prolongs a decision-making process and then it elongates our next meeting that is probably already full. And I would much rather get out of here before 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. And I feel like we've had many of these discussions. Let's get going, especially for the Charter Review Committee. They need to get going.
I know we have discussed the financial policy. We phone system last time, and so the newest is the appointments to committees. I would go either way, but defer to the majority of this body.
Is there any reason we couldn't appoint to the committees because everybody who would be in our packets would be, is that purely council discretion? And the other things on here that the community members might wanna give input on could be pushed to the next week, because we want to get these people in their committees as soon as we can. Everybody on council who can make the decisions here. I mean, we're missing Pete, but
Okay. So there needs to,
Oh, and on that note, because committees 10.1 says the mayor is responsible for appointing members to said committees and all appointments are subject to council approval. So I agree, maybe we could do committees tonight because it is the mayor's responsibility and are subject to our approval. And maybe wait on the other 2 if folks were didn't go to the last meeting and did want to comment on these other two. So I'm agreeing with you. Councilman Crompton.
Councilmember Crompton, do you want to make a motion to?
Well, was there a motion this?
Well, no, this is, we're in, it's already been seconded, we're in a motion, so.
One more comment. The only thing is that there's 4 openings and there's only 3 in our packet, so we still wouldn't be able to do the elements last time.
Isn't there a quorum?
Correct, we will need one more for a quorum for the charter committee.
So if we voted tonight, there would be a quorum. And would help tourism to keep their quorum if people were busy. At meetings.
Okay, so we need to figure out what direction the council wants to go.
So did we have an official motion and second that we need to vote on?
We don't have an official motion for how many items you want to keep and vote on tonight and what you're gonna let go. We've had a discussion about all of them not being.
So did Butch move to? Did
He didn't make an official motion, he said he'd like to make a
His
motion.
hands up.
Yeah.
Councilor Miller,
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we table section 6 action items until the next meeting.
one second. Okay, discussion?
I've already said my part,
Okay. Okay. So Sam, if there isn't any other discussion, it goes to a vote.
Councilmember Compton,
no,
Emily Baker,
No.
Farrell,
Aye.
Kathy,
Sorry.
Keller,
No.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
No. That does not pass. So does the council member want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to remove action items 6A and B to be put on, to be tabled for next session and continue with action item 6C while moving the reports and presentations on the city staff up to ahead of the action items.
Parents of interested citizens.
I second that.
Okay, discussion? Okay, hearing there isn't any discussion, vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
No.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. Passes, so action items A, 6A and 6B will be moved to the next meeting. And then we will keep 6C and then also move up 7B. To 4. Yes, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so we got that, so adoption of consent agenda. Got minutes and. There a motion?
I mean, we do discussion after we move the second. I move to adopt the consent agenda with the approval of the January 8th, 2024 city council minutes, approval of the January 8th, 2024 city council workshop minutes, and ratification of the bills in the amount of $113,326.67.
A second. And then discussion, the only thing I can see on the minutes, page 3 of 9. It said Pete Happy joined the meeting at 7:41, it should be 3:70. Is there any other?
On the minutes, page 8, bottom paragraph, second line, though, I believe that I said with respect to the forum, not with respect to this forum. Bottom of page 8, last paragraph. Second line. She said with respect to decorum in and out of this room.
Okay. Okay, any others? Oh, Councilman Miller?
Yes, I have one question, and it is, what is the time limit on reimbursements for council members?
Gordon, would you like to answer that?
I don't know that off the top of my head, I can look it up.
Okay, does the city employees have a time limit on placing reimbursements?
No,
They don't?
I don't, I don't off the top of my head, I need to look it up.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Any other amendments to it? Okay. Been moved and seconded, let's, roll call vote.
Councilmember Crompton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Farrell. Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
All right,
Mayor Down.
Aye. And passes. All right, so we are gonna move up to 7B, review of storms and city response.
Yeah, so yeah, again, sorry for the packets being delayed, but last week was a little crazy. So I got this report put together here today as kind of the storms wrapped themselves up and staff wrapped up their responses. Starting afternoon of Friday, January 12th, the Columbia River Gorge experienced a series of wind and ice storms lasting until Sunday, January 21st. In preparation for the storm, the city obtained a lineman crew to have available if electrical issues arose, and kept them on hand until the morning of Monday, January 22nd. The entire city experienced a power outage starting at around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday, on 13th, which was referred by Saturday 13th, due to issues with EPA transmission line. Power was not completely restored until around 8 p.m. Sunday, or even Saturday. Through all of the storms, the city's electrical system experienced minimal damage. Ground interpretation and the crew performed extensive tree trimming when not working on repairs. The morning of Tuesday, January 16th, ODOT held a meeting to discuss when to close I-84 due to the impending ice storm. Myself and Chief Logan were on the call. The discussion was not when, not if it would be closed. The tentative deadline was 2 p.m. I made the decision to close City Hall at 1 p.m. to allow staff to get out of town if needed. The morning of Wednesday, January 17th and Thursday, January 18th, I coordinated the city staff on the conditions of the roads and whether to open or close. I also coordinated with administrators from the city and county of the river. I decided to keep City Hall closed both days. A side note to this, I will note that for the short time City Hall staff were here on Tuesday the 17th, the temperature inside this building was 55 degrees. Part of that was due to not having power here for about 12 hours plus, but this building cannot handle this extreme weather. It's definitely due to it. So. Now I'll invite Groundman Interpretant, Chief Logan, and Public Works Supervisor Price to expand on how their departments responded to the storm. I was going to have Groundman Interpretant go first.
Well, does anybody have any questions on anything first off?
I just want to say thank you.
Well, you're welcome. We put in some long hours out there trying to keep things on. As Jordan said, our facility, we had minor issues, nothing severe. Everything we were able to respond to pretty quickly. It was really sporadic. In downtime, we were doing other things to keep the crew busy, since we were already paying for them. If it wasn't for the Bonneville issue, we would have skated out of this pretty easy.
That was one of my next questions. So based on our If something came up, we were to contract out, you walked us all the way through how that would work with giving people here help. You think we would still be able to do that if we needed it?
Yes. That's the only reason why I released that crew is I talked to the owner of the company to make sure that if I release them, if something was to pop up later this afternoon, that I would be able to get someone back out here. And he said, yes.
Councilor Baker.
With the Bonneville issue, and it sounds like you did some help with them as well?
No.
No, okay, good. I was gonna ask, do we get a bill?
No,
Okay,
we don't
okay.
do anything with them.
Okay.
I will note on the Saturday when the cell service went out, Derek hung out at Rooster Rock for most of the day, because it's the closest place that had cell service.
Oh, thank you.
So,
There's that. Yeah, well, I want to say thank you so much. I know I won't say skated through it. But it was very much appreciated, everything that you and all the crews did. And as far as communication goes, how do you feel that it went? Do you feel like I always, anytime after an event, I always say what went well and what would I change or do differently? And is there anything that you done differently or
No, I don't think so. I think the biggest change that helped a lot was the app that Jordan got it set up on, made it to where customers can talk to me personally
nice?
and not do a recording. So I can give them information as I know when they call. And that helped out a lot.
Good, good. I appreciate that.
Derek, can you expand on when power was coming back on Saturday, why it would go in and out?
So when Bonneville called me and said that they were up and running, both subs were back up. We came back into town, obviously town didn't have power, and I knew the reclosure out by Dennis Snyder's gate had opened too much cold load. It's not, it can't handle the whole city all at once coming back on from being cold that long. So we broke the city up into pieces and energized small portions of it at a time and let it sit for a little bit to try to get it to mellow out and then do another piece. While we were doing that, the reclosure failed on us. So as we got to downtown, that's why it went out for about 15 minutes again. We had to go back to the reclosure, bypass the reclosure, and then we were able to get everybody on. But it just took time.
Some logistics. Yeah, well, we appreciate it very much. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
One more item for them is, so we did have a crew for 9 days. We got the bill for the first 3 days, it was about 50 grand, so we'll get the bill for the other 6. I'm hoping with the states, the governor's declaration of emergency, we can get the state to help pay for it. Like he said, all 9 days, Derek was out there with them, giving them work to do, some substantial tree trimming was done. They weren't just sitting around, so a lot of work was done.
No, I figured if we were paying them, we're gonna work, so I found stuff that I needed crews for anyway.
That's
And
perfect.
since they were already here, we just went out and did it in between calls.
That's great. Thank you for being proactive about that.
No.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Supervisor Price.
Any questions?
Shelby, why don't you start from the top?
Well, there's so much.
Let's hear it.
No, I think it's approved, you know, we get a lot of complaints every year and. At first, the snow was very easy to handle, you know, it was light and we were able to get it off the road. And then as the rain and the freezing rain and the sleet came in, it became a little more challenging to move it, you know, because the trucks are not that big. We don't get, you know, that kind of snow all the time. So the effort to get it off the road was not super successful. I mean, we got it off the road and it was passable, but you know, you wind up with birds. And when it becomes that heavy, you can't control it past the driveway and get past the driveway. You just have to get it off the road and go. So I know a lot of people were inconvenienced and sorry about that, but that's Mother Nature. We had a main leak
I believe was on. We discovered it Monday night, decided to attack it on Tuesday, I believe it was. So two of us was on that, we had one guy plowing, so that kind of put us behind. But we were able to wrap that up in about 4 or 5 hours. The main one, and got back to plowing.
I know there was a couple of questions on some side streets that still have lots of slush, and if those were gonna be plowed as well, or?
Yes, and we went around plowed everything today.
Okay, great.
Went, took care of all the hills. Well, Forest Lane yesterday, and did some of the hills, and then today we were around and kind of mopped up. We were kind of waiting for it to melt somewhat more, because you got the slush, but underneath the slush is still ice. And so the plow just kind of skips across that,
Right.
because we have shoes on them to prevent hanging up on manholes or, catching anything to
Right.
damage the plow when we're down. And there's expense, a lot of expense in repairing plow, so we keep those shoes on and it, about a 1/4 inch. Keeps the blade up from hanging up on things, and so with that being said, that slush just kind of slides out from underneath them.
Okay.
And
Can you talk about a little bit about your day, like when we have these storms, I mean, is it, cause I see you guys late at night, and can we talk about kind of what you guys experience?
it varies.
Yeah.
We had a lot of shut-offs, a lot of, people calling, hey, my pipes are froze, can you touch off my meter? So
Okay,
then we're trying to locate the meter box, dig it out, turn the water off, when you got this much ice and snow.
right,
It's interesting, but it's nice to kind of. You landmark them, when it's good weather, you look, there's a tree, there's a house, you
Right.
kind of try to figure them out, and then locate the lines and then.
Right.
Dig them up, and that was the case over there, we had to use the backhoe to uncover the valves. And same, yeah, absolutely, thank you guys. It worked out very nice.
Good. I'm glad.
And go home, lay down for an hour or two, phone call, get back up, or shut some water off. Or, whatever it may be,
Okay.
so, yeah, it's, oh, and then with the power outage, that was, you're talking about it, explain our day, that was, Mark was on call and then plowed that night. From like 7 to, I think, 11:30, and then the power went out at 12:30, and then he was up reset, checking on things and making sure generators were going. And I think he laid down about 3, then at 5, I got up and called and said, hey, where we at? And I took over and worked like 10 hours that day, just maintaining and resetting, and for the power to come on and shut off, you have to reset alarms, and then we were fueling that night, getting all the generators for the treatment plant, the lift station, the well fueled back up, and just in case it, kept going.
So you have a lot going on other than just plowing?
Yes,
Yes. You have a long list.
absolutely.
Yeah, well, I sure appreciate you and your team and everybody, and how hard you worked, so it was a lot.
Yeah, I think overall, I think we did good.
Did the sand freeze this year at all in the trucks?
No, I
Good,
did not. We were on top of that, not allowing that to happen.
Great. Good. Councilmember
I just
Fisher?
want to say thank you, and you said you received a lot of complaints, and I hear a lot of thank yous, so even if you don't hear them, I hope you
Well,
recognize.
we do. Here, it's a mix.
I have a friend and I know you went and turned her water off and I will say on the main street there, they live upstairs. And I'm hoping that when it's back on again, that no program.
Yeah, I hope so. We attempted today, but it was no such luck.
Okay, thank you. I know they're so grateful. Thank you. Is there anything you wish that you want to tell council that if we'd had, if in a perfect world, if there was lots of money, if there was something that you wish we had more?
And you already got a backhoe, so.
Well, here is it's already kind of a plan that's gonna happen. We got the new truck coming, which will be here by next winter, I hope. I think it's supposed to be here in April.
Right.
We do have a spare plow that have rebuilt, one of the older, we rebuilt it. We're gonna put it on that truck, just to have a backup truck, a backup plow, however it works. If you need to, take another plow off and put it on a different truck. And I just don't. Cause there was a lot of time where I could have been plowing, but we only have 2 trucks.
Oh,
And the way it worked out, but some storms, you know, once we start getting into them and see the forecast, we start doing shifts and overlapping shifts, and so this one we didn't so much.
It was hit and miss, but what we were gonna get.
Yeah, it's kind of get her done, and then it laid down and wasn't that bad, and we had time to rest and get back on it. So, but those, you know, when we're all 3 out there, it'd be nice to have that, so we, hopefully, by next year, we will have that up and going. But other than that, I mean, we just take it as it comes, and I think, you know, some years are worse than others, and
thank you.
that's all you can do.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So the one that had where we have the busted main pipes, is that totally taken care of now, or is that something we need to readdress come spring and we thaw out?
Yes, the repair on the water line is good, it's golden, but we're gonna have to put some attention to the road. It really complicated, you know, it messed up and compromised the road, and luckily it's a dead end street, it's over on Riverview. So it's not heavily traveled, but right now we just got it gravelled for now, and when spring comes, we're gonna have to probably cut a section out of the damaged pavement and patch that.
And then for the snow plowing stuff, I've heard a lot of people wondering why Forest Lane is so much lower on the list. In your opinion, do you think we need to look at the order of the snow plowing now that there's more people living on Forest Lane?
We could look at that, I mean, personally, I think that, because we do the hills first, so into the west end of town, and then we, you know, Wasco, Venture, Regulator, up that subdivision, and then we jump over to Edgewood and get up to the elderly, I don't know,
Senior living.
but senior living, thank you. We do that, and then we jump out and usually drop the plow and hit Forest Lane on the way out.
Okay.
On one side. And if we have to, we'll come back and mop it up and take care of it right away, but depending on the conditions, you know, we gotta check on the conditions and react what you got there. And then we head up and do Shahala. A lot of times, if we got 2 guys working at the same time,
Okay.
you know, east end, west end, and then kind of come back, meet in the middle. And the reason Forest Lane is just because it's flat. It's, you know, it's flat and you can usually get around on it, you know, until, you know, if it gets really deep, but you know, like what we had, it was passable. It's, Forest Lane's worse when it starts to melt, and it's worse than what it is when the snow's coming down, it seems like.
Slush.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last thing, I don't know if there's anything that you can tell residents that would help with the snow plowing. Someone posted something about having it clear to the left of your driveway for the snow plows, and then that makes it so that it's not going to, I guess, when the plow's coming, it'll dump what you've accumulated on it to the left of the driveway, so that when you go in past the driveway, there won't be as much on the shovel thing. That's the only thing I can think of. But anyway, if there's any advice that you have for any of us to minimize that pile up behind our cars when you go by.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that I fully,
I didn't
Grasp
understand the
what
parts
you're-
too much, yeah.
yeah, because with it, you know, like I said, when the snow's lighter, it's really easy to V up and take it past the driveway, and then once you get past the
And after
driveway,
that, I'll bet
you
you
can
off.
dump it out, unless their driveways are 15 feet apart, then it's a little more complicated. But as the snow gets heavier and thicker, then it's a little more hard to handle with those plows.
Okay. Well, thank you for your hard work. Any other comments?
Curiosity, like for my own information, what was the ODOT doing differently than what you guys were doing? I see that Forest Lane from the ODOT and then all of Wanapa was completely clear. Are they using
Salt.
They're using salt.
Salt, and they put right down on the pavement and they're scraping.
They have a lot bigger trucks.
Yeah, no, I knew they had the equipment. I just didn't, it was the salt.
Yeah, you could see that, how that was tracking off of there, up the hills and be, and then out at Forest Lane, you see how it went past where they turned off.
And we don't go straight onto the pavement to protect our roads, because there's a chance that when you're scraping right on the pavement, that you can peel up.
Yes, sir.
And when ODOT does it, they don't care because they'll fix it themselves, but, well, they do care, but
Right.
it's a bigger,
They do have more money, bigger trucks, and they're designed a little different to.
I've also seen some posts, I haven't verified the information that it could, too much salt could also be detrimental to our river and the salmon
That's what I've heard.
And vehicles.
and cars,
Yeah, and temperatures, once you get below 20, you don't use salt, so they say. At those
It
low
doesn't-
temperatures,
doesn't fix it, doesn't do
it
anything.
melts and freezes.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
At least on public works side, I know the power outage and the temperature caused some somewhat substantial issues with the treatment plant. I don't know if you had a chance to read those emails from Andrew.
Yeah, I've read some.
Okay, I didn't quite understand all of it, but this has been a good test for our new treatment.
Yeah.
But Jacob,
Mainly the removal.
or something froze, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was a good test for our new treatment. So the Jacobs is working with staff. As well as the contractors.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One item I did forget to note for electric department is there was an issue out by the fish hatchery over by Multnomah.
Eagle Creek.
No, Swanville Dam, I don't remember. That fishery, fish hatchery called.
Eagle Creek.
Eagle Creek, but it's like Cascade and something, gotcha. Anyways, we got a call from the manager of that fish hatchery, Alex, wanted to thank the electric department staff. They were out at 1 a.m. on a hillside that is not passable during the summer, let alone in the middle of a winter storm. And they got it fixed and estimated that they saved millions of fish. Because without the power going back on, all the fish they had in the hatchery would have died. So, must give kudos to the staff.
That's big.
Okay.
That's very nice.
Keep going. I'm terrible at remembering, so I wrote some stuff down throughout the week. I work a normal 5 days, before the storm, and then Saturday, when the power went out at 4 o'clock, the emergency manager for Hoover County woke me up and said, "Did you realize you're out of power?" Said, "I do now." I was asleep. So I got up and went to the station to make sure our generator was fired up and that bay doors could open, so fire trucks could go in and out. Everything went well there. There's been some comments on Facebook about fire station as emergency shelter. While that is a possibility, our generator does not power our HVAC system. So our fire station was just as cold as everybody's houses. So it would have been a nice place to have some light and maybe charge a cell phone, but to get actual warmth, not really the meal ticket. Going back, I ventured a little bit today with trying to unbury emails and get caught up on normal stuff after this last week. To look at the plans of the fire station, it was really built in 2 phases. What you currently see is phase 1. Phase 2 brings in living quarters for staff and a big community room that is completely sectioned off from where fire and EMS people are going to be working and living and trying to do things. If this storm had escalated any more, our fire station would have been like our internet command post. Because of the generator, our phones, our landline phones still worked and our internet still worked. Because we have power to our modems and things like that. And being able to communicate to the outside world. There for a while when the cell phone towers did finally go down, I was pretty much trapped in my office next to a phone and next to my computer so I could call out and send emails to Jordan to get updates out of what was happening throughout the week. seemed like, every morning, sometime between 8 and 9, I would send Jordan and Charles Young, who's Federal County's emergency manager, an update, and then sometime in the evening, when I had a quick second, I would send them an update of what happened that day and where we were at. So I kind of broke it, my little sheet down into a couple three items, things I learned, things, would have been nice to have, and things that went well. I'll start with things that went well throughout, last week. Our community really came together. I reached out to Brenda and Tiffany and Samantha to kind of get who we need to go check on. And they gave, between the three of them, I don't know, 7 different people, 8 different people, that I personally went to their house, knocked on their door, checked on them. Everybody was okay. So that was very helpful. Now we can start building that bank of places that we need to go check after power outages or extended periods of, snow and people not being able to get out. I think all the city departments work really well together. Derek and Sheldon and I were all communicating when we could, when we had cell phone service. Derek, was super helpful during the power outage. When I'd see him, I'd stop and be like, hey, you okay? Do you need anything? What's going on? And he was willing to give information. The low volume of 911 calls during that time, allowed fire and EMS staff to help in other places. So that was helpful. Things I learned. Thunder Island has a connection that could power their whole, building with a generator. Unfortunately, the generator that was brought down to us somehow missed, getting filled with diesel. So we couldn't actually, power the whole building. But we were able to utilize their, outdoor tent that had a very large propane heater. I mean, it wasn't like a t-shirt and shorts weather in there, but it was definitely warmer than, people's houses. So we opened that. I'm the one that made that decision to use that location. After I made that decision, I talked to Jordan about it. So I was the one that made that call. I learned that our, city's emergency operation plan is from 2013. It sat on my desk all week and I went through some of it, as I needed. I think it would be a very good idea to, take a look at that and update that. Things would have been nice to have. But we didn't completely lose cell tower, at least for T-Mobile, which is what my work phone and my personal phone is on. We did go down to 1 bar of LTE, so if we would have had some sort of cell phone booster, I think we could have overcame the low, signal coming from the towers. It would be nice to figure out how to get generator hookups to the pavilion in coordination with the port as well as City Hall. To be able to use those places as shelters if needed. That way, until the community room fire station is built, that way that building can be reserved for an incident command post for a very large, response to a storm or whatever. With our generator not being on, not powering our HVAC, a couple of space heaters for the fire station, would be helpful. Tomorrow, actually at 8 AM, Energy Trust of Oregon is coming out to the fire station to devise a plan and see how much it will cost to transition the fire station from halogen light bulbs to, LEDs to reduce our, demand on the electrical system. As well as, we are looking at a grant to put solar power on the fire station. And within that grant, hopefully the engineer can look at our generator and figure out what more we can add to it, or if we want to add the HVAC system, what we need to accomplish that. we need to look at some way of getting messages out, besides Facebook. I put learn more about Everbridge. That's the program that Hoover County uses, to send out, evacuation notices. From my understanding, I have a login, but I can't get to like the community member side of it. I can only get to emergency responder side of it. I believe Jordan should have one. If he doesn't, we can work on getting him one of those. But again, any of these messaging platforms is buy-in, and people have to sign up for those to get those alerts. And at least with Everbridge, you can get them via text message or a phone call or an email, or if you're like me, you need all three of them to like receive the message. But we have to get community buy-in and community members to sign up to be able to get those messages, or we're sending messages out to no one. And then I didn't see it in the emergency operation plan, but maybe I missed it. Who is the point of contact for the county emergency manager in town when our city administrator is not in town? And then what power do they have to make decisions? Because like if Charles would have drove down here when we had no cell service, and I couldn't get a hold of Jordan, who would I go to make a decision if I needed a decision being made? So those are kind of, that was kind of my last week in a nutshell. Yes, there was Facebook pictures, and Shelley, at the L House, opened almost every morning to make sure, the electric crew that was in town was fed, as well as city staff that was out plowing, port staff that was out plowing, fire and EMS to make sure we had a good breakfast. I did pour coffee, so that it is out there on Facebook. I do know how to do some of that stuff. Don't ask me to make your coffee, so I don't drink it. So, but I'll take any questions from anybody.
What is the role of the county's emergency response versus your role? Like, I feel, I have questions about, I feel like that's their job to provide a warming shelter. Like, what is their role in this instance?
Yeah, it can get a little gray. Especially if the whole county is impacted. They have a lot going on, so having boots on the ground in each individual area of the county to relay to the emergency operations center of our needs, is kind of what I think my role or Jordan's role, would be like, hey, we need a warming shelter and we have this many people out of power. Can we set up a warming shelter? And from 4 AM that day, there was 4 different locations thrown out, for warming shelters. One that actually got set up was at West Side School. 6 people went there. I don't know if they drove or took cat bus. There was about 50 people at Thunder Island in the tent. We did talk about, the center across the river at, the fairgrounds. Sounded like Hoover County Emergency Manager passed that off to, the Red Cross, and somewhere in there, Red Cross didn't pick up the pieces and run with it. So that was one of my top contenders was across the river, because it's close, we can get there. Taking people to Hood River doesn't work for this community. Obviously, only 6 people went to West Side School. And I don't think that's all I was told was 6, and I don't know if they checked to see where they came from, or if it was just people heard that was a warming shelter, so people from Hood River went there too. So
a follow-up question, how do we make those lines clear and black and white so that we can be more prepared in the future?
I think the county's emergency operation plan and our emergency operation plan need some overlap and make those lines clear and definitive.
is that a committee between the two organizations, or, like, that's where, like, how do we create policy that defines this, like, who needs to be involved, how do we get this?
I think Hood County Emergency Management, Charles, needs to be involved, and then city staff and you guys need to be involved when we make our plan.
Councilmember Baker.
On this note, again, thank you for everything you did, and you wore lots of hats, and I saw you helping individuals as well. On this note, so is it possible that there should be some funds in Hood County Emergency that would benefit us and our warming station? Say we continue with a public-private partnership like TIB or Thursday or something to pay for the propane, pay for the generator or something?
Yes,
Okay,
TIB is getting me the invoice for the propane,
and it's getting paid for out of,
either the city or the county emergency operation center. Jordan and I haven't quite got that far yet,
okay,
but that is one thing that I'm going to bring to Charles, like, hey, here's this really fancy bill for the propane, since the generator you bought me didn't have diesel in it. That was super frustrating.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it would be very helpful, because I know, council members, myself, a lot of people pay privately for snacks, juice, whatever. And so to come up, we can have a meeting and come up, like, what happens with it? How does that get funded?
Right.
You know, all the cups and the cocoa and the coffee and the food and everything, so we
And
can.
I think having a cache somewhere in the city, cause like we saw, the freeway shut down. And the power outage and the freeway shut down at the same time, we're kind of cut off from the world. So just walking around the fire station today, I saw at least 3 different coffee pots that I wanna have my staff take inventory of what we have that can be used for warming shelter, and vice versa for cooling shelter. And if we're not using them on the daily, get some plastic totes that they all go into, get labeled warming shelter, cooling shelter, and they're there. And my staff and I can bring them down, or we can call Jordan and be like, hey, send Public Works down to get the cooling shelter, get the warming shelter stuff, and it just goes there. It would also be nice to have a list of volunteers to help run that shelter that's not fire EMS. Because during those times, historically, we're very busy, answering 911 calls. This was kind of a weird anomaly that we didn't really have any 911 calls, during the bulk of the storm, which was nice. It allowed us to focus on other things, like going to check on people and, being able to give updates to the county and to Jordan as it was happening.
It helps with 84 being closed.
Yes, how do you know that? Well, it was very painful to sit and like have nice weather, nice weather, and the road being closed. It allowed ODOT and OSP time to clear I-84 and get people off of it before the mess happened, which saved us from being out there on that very dangerous road. So I was very grateful that they closed it early and were able to go through and get everybody off the road, go to all the trailheads and get all them people that were out hiking in the cold, out of the zone, before the storm hit. That was very beneficial.
Mr. Miller is.
and Mr. Miller.
Councilman Miller?
Yeah, I'd like to thank John and his crew for all the great work they did. Also, I want to build on what Councilmember Keller said. Well, we should contact our county commissioner, Les Perkins, to see if there's any funding that the county can give to us to maybe be able to put a transfer switch into the pavilion and provide for a generator to heat down there. Besides our county emergency people, we should also be contacting the Hood River School District to see about using the school as an emergency shelter, because they use them up there in Hood River as emergency shelters, so why not here? Yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Councilmember Thompson?
This generator that didn't have diesel in it, is it ours now?
No, it was a rental that, Hood River County Emergency Management acquired from Peterson Cat and the Dells. While we got everything, we had an electrician there, we got everything hooked up. Anytime we tried to put a little bit of load on that generator, it would shut down. And so I relayed that to Hood River County Emergency Management, the next day, 84 opened, Peterson was able to come down and get it. They took it to the Hood River County, shops there on 18th, kind of by the Hood River Fire Station and pool. And they were looking at it, they're thinking it was a fuel filter, some sort of fuel problem. And they found out it didn't quite have enough diesel in it. And the fuel filter was plugged, so
All the good things.
all the good things.
How beneficial do you think it would be for the city to have a emergency generator for such an occasion?
I think it'd be super handy to have one. My question is, where are we gonna store it? It's something that if it's a diesel generator, it needs to be stored somewhere that has power. That way we can keep the block hot, we can keep the diesel that's in it in its normal state, because when diesel gets really cold, it gels. And so having somewhere that we can store it out of the weather and plug in, at least for the winter months, would be very beneficial. And that way if power goes out, Derek's like, man, this is gonna be longer than like an hour or two. We can go down, we can fire up the generator, and then we can start making a plan for a shelter somewhere. And vice versa in the summer, while we don't need it plugged in, having that generator to take somewhere that has air conditioning, that we can set up a cooling station if the power does go out, would be very beneficial. But again, storage, where are we gonna put it?
What does a generator like that cost, just out of curiosity?
No idea.
Ballpark, I don't know.
I would say 10 to 15,000 probably for a decent sized one, at least. That's on a trailer.
Councilmember Baker?
On the, getting a team who would help manage these things and not the fire department, seems like CERT team, community emergency response team, is it something you wish that city would try to make that committee? Is it something the fire department might?
I started looking into it. Hood River County Emergency Management has one. We had a meeting scheduled and then I think we got a fire, so I didn't get to go. I had to cancel the meeting and then it kind of just got back burner. But it is something that I have been looking into. We started the CERT team.
So then, do you need help with looking into that, or because you have so much to do?
No, I think spring, fall time is a great time to really dive into those type of projects. We tend to be a little slower in those timeframes, so this spring I plan on diving into it a little bit more.
Thank you. In Welch's, Oregon, they had the CERT team and people in the yellow vest handling traffic and for all sorts of, and it gave people who want to help in emergencies but don't have your fire experience or some training, because I know there's training involved, and ability to be involved even if they're not fit for being in the fire department.
Yeah, what Charles and I were gonna talk about, since he already has something established, having like a Cascade Locks division of his. That way we're not forming and starting everything all over again. We would just supplement them with Cascade Locks people and they would be our CERT team basically, but they'd be under the Hood River County umbrella.
Thank you.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
We can get that meeting scheduled, not this month, but get you through this month, next month. Councilmember Farrell?
Yeah, I was wondering, do you know if when we do get a warming shelter figured out where we're gonna have it, can the Red Cross man that for us, or does it have to be totally there? excuse me, their thing when they do that.
Well, I thought they were gonna man the one across the river, but I don't know where the ball got dropped. It's something that I'm gonna circle back with, Charles to figure out and kind of see if that is an option.
Because when we had our fire, our 2017 fire, that was our go-to.
Right, is the Red Cross. I know that the Red Cross in this area is definitely hurting for volunteers. To do that type of work, so they may not have the bandwidth to do it.
And then we'll do, if we end up getting our own generator and finding a spot for it, I'd like to make sure we get some cots in there too, because when you got little kids and they crash, you don't want them to be on the floor
Absolutely.
outside. I was gonna say. So we're gonna I don't know where the ball got dropped from going from phase 1 to phase 2 plans for the firehouse, but we're gonna be looking into that.
I think it was a financial hurdle to get from phase 1 to phase 2. So,
But you're in support of the ideas, the layouts and stuff that you.
yeah, from what I've seen, and if we need to break it up into phase 3 and 4, I think we can probably do that.
And would it, the second phase, would it provide additional parking as well?
Well, the parking, from what I gather, maybe Mary Ann can correct me if I'm wrong, or anybody. When they built the fire station, the port property next to it, Hood River County was going to put in a satellite health department, and we were gonna have shared parking. Well, the county never went through with their end of the deal. And so our 9 parking spots are what they are, because the shared parking that was supposed to happen next door never happened.
We could do a shuttle. We
Yeah.
could shuttle people.
Is that right on? Okay.
So I think, it sounds like you've got a lot of good ideas and, whether it's, you know, costs or food or it just, those all go into logistics on what's in the box, how you're gonna provide it. And so it sounds like you're in the works of getting a, meeting together.
Yeah, and then trying to figure out where to store some of this stuff. Cots and generators and the maintenance on the generator. We gotta at least pull the cots out once a year and make sure that they're not ripped or torn and that they're still in working order, and so there's a little bit of logistics to go on with all the logistical needs for a shelter. But
I have one other question. Saw some other posts about, people who need help putting tags in their windows. I know we're a small enough town I'm talking big tags where it did, like 3 different colors. One would be, I need help now, kind of thing, which is a good thing. It's if the phone's not working, how are you gonna, and they're locked in their house and can't open their door because there's snow in front of their door, which happened to one person down the street from me, I know. Are you up for us looking into anything like that? I know that would require people going around and looking at people's windows.
Right.
Or neighbors seeing it and turning their neighbors in saying, hey, this neighbor has a yellow tag in the window.
I have not seen any systems like that, or heard of anybody using systems like that. We could definitely look into it. I don't mind being a trailblazer and trying to figure it out.
I'll pass on to you what I saw.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you for everything.
Yes.
And finally, I want to just say thank you for choosing a warming shelter when we don't have one that's official. The public-private partnership, it seemed to work. There were 50 people there. It was easy for folks to get there. The Hood River County Sheriff, I know Brian was here helping as well. He gave a young mother and her child a ride at one point. Checked on some folks that I asked him to check on as well. And so I just love your thinking outside of the box and that so many community came together, and even folks that didn't have a lot to share. Back to one gentleman living at the motel brought his little tiny coffee press and coffee to share. Another single mom brought some food that she had picked up at the food bank to share and previously. So I just it was wonderful. It was a good community spirit. People were there to help each other and you were there much of the day and out doing all sorts of things. And the people, I imagine the mayor and others will thank all the individuals who helped make that happen, even the lips who were out of town, giving permission and getting Nick and Ian and Rob. And so I just appreciate your thinking outside the box, and that was great for that day. They were prepared the next day. Shelley was there, you know, so different parts of this small community. This is what I love, you know, taking care of each
And
other.
I think Federal County Sheriff's Office needs a shout out. I noticed that Sheldon and Derek and I were pretty much the only ones driving around, but every time I was out driving around, I stumbled across a deputy out patrolling our neighborhoods. They were there, they were here a lot this last week
And late.
and late. Emergency management, where there was some things that didn't quite line up, but just how it happens in our world. The best laid plans always seem to go by the wayside in an emergency situation. Charles was very helpful, always answered his phone, whether I called him at 4 AM, like he called me just to say hi. And then our River County 911 dispatchers, I'm sure they answered a bunch of non-emergency lines, and they were having their own issues with the non-emergency lines going down, and so the River County Sheriff's Office was definitely an active participant in what was going on down.
Well, I want to thank you for everything. I know we were in constant conversation, texting and communicating, and by you and Jordan partnering together with the cat buses and to get people, that whole family that was stranded on the Greyhound bus. And
Oh, yeah.
they were trying to get to Yakima, the cat bus driver, she got them up to Hood River, so family was coming down to get them, and just, my hat's off to you and.
We did also start a group text message between Jordan and Parker Nelson, who's the operations manager for the port. Jeremiah Blue, and Genevieve from the port. So we were all communicating, hey, 84 is open, hey, 14 is closing. What are you guys, what's going on in the port world, what's going on in the city world? So we were also talking with the port quite a bit.
It's constant, pretty much.
My phone didn't really
It
stop
didn't
ringing.
stop. Yeah. Well, any other comments or questions? Jordan, do you have any?
No, I will, read the point about communication, I will put updates on Facebook and go, well, hopefully people see it, and we're working on getting updates on our website, so we can do emails out, text messages, there's a mass communication portion to it we can add, it's like $5,000 a year, we'll have to budget for it, but there are tools we can do, but at this point, the best option is Facebook. I put it on the city page and then share it to a couple of the community pages, and that's about all I can do.
Is there, the cost, is it the Everbridge? Is there a cost associated?
I haven't looked at Everbridge yet. Well, we don't use, River County already pays for it.
Okay.
And so that's how, so let's just say there was a large fire, and I'm going to say, hey, Sheriff English, I need these 5 roads evacuated. Him and his deputies go around door to door and knock, but they also have dispatch put out an Everbridge page, and on their maps and dispatch, they can circle those roads, and it only goes to those ones affected. Like, hey, get out now, and then they widen the circle. Hey, you're a level 2 evacuation, please be ready. And that goes out, hey, you're a level 1 evacuation, be aware of, there's an incident emerging in your area. And so I don't know if it's permission based, why I don't have access to be able to send them out to the community. For the longest time, we couldn't even get me access, I kept not sending me an email, to set it up, but we got that figured out. And so now, just need to get back with them and figure out how I can send stuff to the community and not just my responders that are in that system. the difference with that one is Everbridge is emergencies only. If we want to have notifications or, hey, city hall's closed, great to know, but not an emergency.
So I think you can send that stuff out.
Okay, okay.
Like, there's different tiers, like, and you can have a community member, like, hit one, that they receive the notification. And then if you don't hit one, it'll keep pinging your phone until you hit one and say you got it.
Gotcha.
But I think there's other, we could do some of that possibly.
Okay, that's not what I got. Feeling when I talked to Charles, it's been like 6 months, so we can have other conversations. But anyways, yeah, we were looking at options. We'll see what's out there.
Add that to the list of,
Add to the list.
add it to the list. Councilmember Baker.
Maybe it's silly and simple, but maybe having the fire and EMS of a phone from each cell tower, a Verizon phone, T-Mobile phone. My Verizon was really good, all the emergency, just so you know. I could even use the internet off of it.
Well, we
so.
did have, FirstNet. But then when Chief Bennett, who was the fire chief before me, left, and then when Mary Ann decided she was gonna retire, FirstNet wouldn't talk to anybody here because we weren't on the account. And so we signed a letter and closed that account and opened one with T-Mobile. Because they had some good service, I had through my personal phone. They have a whole first responder section that, my actual phone service is free for the next 5 years. We just had to get the device. So
I just made a couple of extras at the station.
I already have enough.
Okay.
I already have enough electronics to worry about.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No,
No, all right. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
have a good night.
All right. Okay. And now let's see. Brenda? You want to speak on the 7B?
All right, I've heard that, I would want to address the council that you guys would investigate and check into, about the, fire hall. There was some grants that were granted to the fire hall, I don't know if it was during phase 1 or phase 2, and it was, part of it was granted because it was explicit that we were to have a community center. In my understanding at the time, attending council meetings, that it was for emergencies only. It wasn't gonna be like when the temperature got down to 25, we were gonna have a warming center. It wasn't that. It was an emergency place for the residents of Cascade Locks to go that was safe until we could get out of this town. And that's why it was vitally important that we had that and we kept our airport and things like that, because we have been trapped in this town more than once during emergencies, so it's a real thing. And I think it was the $600,000 grant, it was either the 200,000 or the $600,000 grant that he explicitly said that we were going to do this. Whenever I posted on Facebook about it, because that's what I understood, even when I was on council, I was told that the generator that's at the fire department doesn't run our HVAC system. And I also was told that we surplused a generator not that long ago because it was too big for City Hall. So I would hope that you guys would really look at these things, because we really need something to be here for our community during these times where we're totally shut off. You know, so we only have 2 ways out of this town, and when an emergency happens, we need to be able to have a common area to go to, so our emergency plan really needs to be worked on. It needs to be set in stone, and we need to know what the hell we're doing. And I do wanna say thank you to the staff and to the electrical department and public works and, fire and EMS, 'cause they did an awesome job, and they missed out on a lot of the storm. You know, thank goodness, but we really need to look at this, because when I first moved to Cascade Locks, I bought my home. I didn't do any footwork at all except for my little piece of land that I have. I did all my due diligence on that. I did not know when I moved to Cascade Locks that we had no fire in EMS. You know how Brenda went found out that we had none? Well, my husband's lung collapsed, and it took 20 minutes to get help here. So that's why our fire and EMS and having emergency plans and all this is so vitally important. And whenever we're thinking of warming shelters and all that, let's keep in mind that we do have a lot of handicapped individuals. And all of that, so maybe the pavilion isn't good for everyone. I don't know what it looks like, but I do know that we need something for our community members during an emergency, a plan, what are we going to do? You know, because there's nothing like being cut off from the world, and I've seen it too many times where the state of Oregon and Hood River County has forgotten about Cascade Locks, Oregon. It's happened more than once, so, the other thing I would like to know, and you can maybe get back to me later, Jordan, is how many kilowatts is the generator that we do have at the fire department? I don't need to know the horsepower, I need to know just the kilowatts. Logan said he would, be able to get it too. And then, I think that is all I have, except that it's very vital that we have an emergency plan. We gotta know what we're doing. Because not being able to communicate, because I have AT&T and I have no service, you know, and there's so many people, you know. If we have a plan, we at least maybe have people that can go check on people, and these people, so it's not on everybody or on certain individuals. But I don't understand why we just surplus a generator, now we're talking about buying a generator. And then we don't have a generator that's big enough to run the HVAC in the fire hall. So I guess I need some answers to all the pieces in the puzzle that aren't fitting quite together. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Now, appearance of interested citizens. Tiffany?
Correct. And I'm gonna add, to this conversation that was just had, I've done the CERT training, I took it in Skamania County. It would be really good for, maybe we can partner with Skamania County, like it was done before. It's a good training, and it would be a good, group to have as volunteers in case of emergency. Also, Red Cross, is a Portland-based thing now. It used to be in the Dalles, but they closed that office down, and so it's a Portland thing, and there's really not very many people that want to volunteer because you have to go to Portland calls, and that's a long ways, and Portland covers a long range of areas. Also, when I was on council, we had to take FEMA emergency management online courses. They're free, and I think it would benefit anybody to help them learn, you know, management of an emergency event. We did it, I don't know, we were kind of coerced into it because of grants, if I remember correctly. So they wanted us, you know, as many counselors and staff to take the FEMA. So I would suggest the council look into that and maybe include it in a newsletter that people, you know, in the community can also take those classes online. They're free, and they get a little certificate when they complete each series of classes. Another thing, it would be really good if the city and maybe partnered with the other communities that lost power because of transmission lines that we all dealt with over the summer. We had planned power outages to deal with the transmission lines and updates, and here we are in the middle of winter dealing with serious power outages. It happened in here, it happened in Skamania County, it happened up in Centerville, in the Golden Dale area. So all down the gorge, I mean, if all of the city administrators or the cities got together and demanded some answers from BPA, what the heck happened and why there was all of these mass outages down the gorge. I mean, because it's okay if we have one and not the other, then we can help each other out. But when everybody's out and in the same situation, you're kind of a stuck pig, and you know, you're treading water, just trying to stay afloat and keep everybody safe. Also, can the city talk to ODOT about maybe not blocking when they do plow the roads, the plow 105, talked to them about not blocking the entrance to the post office because that was part of the reason why the town was not able to get mail sooner than last Friday or Saturday. I think it was Saturday, finally before we got a load, but that they couldn't get into the parking lot, so they just went on by and didn't drop our mail. So it would, you know, be in our best interest to ask ODOT if they could please at least just keep that section clear for the citizens. Yeah, and then the only thing I noticed is taken off of the agenda, but some of the pages for this, the resolution 1498, it looks like somebody scanned in one side and not the other, because there's only even number of pages, so somebody could look into getting all of the pages for the adopted financial management policies, only half of the pages go in, so there's only two, there's one, two, it's like there was two sides and only the one side got scanned in, so. Yeah, other than that, I think that's all I got.
Public hearing?
No public hearing.
Moving on, action items. I know. I said A and B, we're moving to next meeting. Okay, so now we're on 6C, appointment to committees.
Okay, any other reports? I listed the vacancies. We have 1 in tourism, 4 for the charter review committee, and 3 for budget committee. Appointments by the mayor for council approval are Heather Weaver for tourism, Bernard Seeger for charter review, Shelley O'Hara for charter review, Mary Kelly Klein for charter review, and Gwen Zwinziger for budget. Council may approve all in one motion or approve individually.
For that, Tiffany, you got on 6.
I could have just stayed.
Need that.
Get your stuff then.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing, this council complains all the time that we don't have enough people to fill our committees, and in your council packet, you only have three applications that were put in for the charter review committee. When I know for a fact that that the last council meeting, there were 5 applications put in, 2 of which are up for approval tonight, and 3, myself, Brenda Wood, and Cody Steelman, are not included in your packet. Up until this point, all applications have been included in the packets for this city council's review. But this time they're not, and still you took a total of 6 applications, and you're only filling 3 positions. And then I have a question about, was the office open last Friday?
No.
Then how could this application have been accepted on Friday? It says it was received on January 19th and stamped January 19th, 2024. And it's also not signed by the person who put it in. So the other applications were put in on the 8th, which was the last council meeting when the offices were open. So it feels to me like some biases are showing and some shenanigans are happening.
Okay. So Jordan, you want to read off where we left off on who's up? So we can vote individually or?
Yeah, so the next step would be making a motion. You can either, council can do a motion for everyone or individual motions. And then we can have this back.
Okay.
I motion to approve the appointments of Heather Weaver to the Tourism Committee, Bernard Seeger, Shelley O'Betta, Mary Kelly Klein to the Charter Review Committee, and Gwen Zwinziger to the Budget Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion? Any?
Council Miller has hand.
Councilman Miller?
Yeah, I kind of find it disturbing that what Miss Pruitt said. And I looked at this and saw that application on the 19th when City Hall was closed. So how did that happen? And then I know the mayor has the right by the council procedures to make the appointments, but I also find that it is in a conflict with policy making, which in the council procedures in 2.2, council is the policy making body. And it seems that these appointments are made for a policy issue reason and not due to the qualifications of the people applying, especially Ms. Pruitt, since she's already on the budget committee and she's not being considered by this council. That's pretty strange right there. So I really think these individuals should be decided individually and not in a group. And we need to go, I think this is one thing in council procedures that we really need to take a look at the mayor having the power to make appointments. I think it puts too much emphasis on one person to make a policy decision when that should be made by the whole council. Thank you.
Jordan, would you like to comment? And I know you followed up with our attorney on this question.
In terms of-
Mayor appointing to.
Yes, so then, double check with the mayor, we read through the charter and, council procedures. Essentially, the mayor has really two powers, setting the agenda and making appointments to committees. I confirmed with the attorney that the mayor can appoint who they choose to the committee out of the applications.
Councilmember Keller?
I would like to declare a point of personal privilege in that assumptions were made about the character of the mayor and the city administrator for these appointments. And I don't remember the official term, and it asked in council procedures that I use the official words, but the assumptions were there that something fishy was happening here, and I want to make sure that that's not the case.
Councilmember Baker?
I am aware because I ran into my neighbor, Mary Kelly Klein, that she tried to bring the paper copy of the committee document to city council. Many days it was closed because we currently don't have an online fillable form. And she said, yay, somebody working at City Hall was there on Friday and let me in, and I handed them my paperwork. So that is why that was stamped for Friday. And I called League of Oregon Cities, as I always do, about many things, and asked what does some of the things in our procedure manual mean. And I feel very comfortable when it says mayor shall appoint, that we are subject to council approval, the mayor's appointments. And I might point out that 2.2 is for council making policy. Any committee is just advisory. Councilman Miller, as I appreciated your saying at the planning committee joint meeting, they just advise us and then we make the policy. So we're not giving that committee power to make policy. So that's where I think 2.2 does not apply to 10.1.
Councilmember Keller?
I'd like to go back to the point of personal privilege, and it states that the challenge is the other council member to justify the action or the language used. So Mr. Miller, please explain your assumptions that were made.
Okay, you want me to explain what wording?
I want fact. I don't want assumptions.
Fact, it was stamped on the 19th and City Hall was closed. So we didn't know. That's what I was asking. Why was it stamped on the 19th when City Hall was closed?
I can answer that question, because we were closed the earlier days, staff could not get their work done, obviously. They asked me if they could come in Friday to do some work in preparation for meter reading that happened this week. They were afraid it was not done on time, meter reading would not get done. I approved them to come in on the 19th to do the work. I was not expecting them to open the doors and let anybody in. I did not know this event occurred until just now.
Okay,
So,
so it was stamped appropriately.
that's when they took it.
They took it.
That's when they took it.
Yes, they took it. All right, so it wasn't backdated.
No, it was not. And I did receive the email about it attempting to be sent into City Hall all week.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Questions? Councilmember Farrell?
I think the whole purpose, or the main purpose of this particular charter review, in its short amount of length, is to try to get as many people on it with different opinions, different views, so they can come up with the best recommendations to us. I don't like telling people, no, for some reason, I'm not gonna let you all even be considered on the committee. Especially when we're trying to get 7 people on it and you're excluding people. If there's an issue that is with a certain applicant, then we can do an executive session and you can talk to us about that. I understand it's your right to pick the ones that go, the appointments are onto the committees, but you have to do it for good reasons. And we don't know what any of those reasons are, which means either do the other residents, word's gonna get around, oh, she's doing this for favoritism, oh, she's doing this because she doesn't want this particular thing about the person, and it gets into a good spot. And I'd like to have 7 people on it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Compton?
I'd just like to say that the mayor has generally less power than really a council member, because a council member can make motions. A mayor has to wait, can recommend things, can say things, can put the things on the agenda and appoint council and appoint people for us to approve. But she has to be the tiebreaker vote. We have all the power in this council. We, the council members, the mayor has very limited mayoral powers. And in other places, the mayor has significantly greater powers. The mayor makes more decisions. This city is unique and it has a robust council that makes almost all decisions. I don't see any huge problem in the mayor using their limited powers in their belief to further the city.
I'd like to,
I just want to clarify one point. The mayor can make a motion, but they have to defer presiding over the discussion. They no longer get to oversee the discussion, but that's the only way they can make a motion. So there is that way. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just like to confirm, how many are already on the charter review committee?
3.
We have 3 already,
Yes.
and so if we did 3 more, then we asked for only 7, right?
so I do want to add, being mayor is not easy. It's not fun, and sometimes you have to make decisions. And that's what I do. I make decisions. Just because you apply for a committee doesn't mean you automatically get to be on it. So I'd like you to hold your comments, please. So It's just, it's a tough decision, but it's a decision that I've made and I'm gonna stand by it. And is there any other questions or comments? There's been a motion to approve the individuals listed. It's been seconded. We've had discussion. So let's move to roll call vote.
Are we doing one roll call vote for
Yes.
all?
Yes, yes.
Councilmember Crompton,
Aye.
Emerling Baker,
I,
Farrell,
No.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
No,
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. It passes. All right, congratulations to all the new committees. Okay. And now we're going to reports and presentations.
No committee reports tonight.
No committee reports. Okay. Now we did 7B. And then review of proposed IGA update with Port of Cascade lots.
Yep, so in your packet is a copy of the proposed IGA, as a requirement of Economic Development Administration grant. A binding agreement between the city and the port to ensure the project meets its intended purpose for the life of the project. And an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the port will meet the binding agreement requirement. The intended purpose of the project is to provide sufficient power to the port, to the port's business park for economic development, and the life of the project is 20 years. So we need to make sure that we are providing sufficient power to the port's business park so they can do economic development for 20 years. This is off the original or current IGA from 2013, I believe. I made a few changes, specifically mention, the EDA grant. I did remove some wording about some wells that were being constructed at the time, I believe. City staff and port staff have both looked at this. They are good with it. Port commission has not seen it yet to my knowledge. But they also need to approve it as well, so.
Everybody had a chance to read it.
I sent Jordan my comment on that. Do you want me to review it for that?
Yeah,
100 and, let's see where we at, page 2, section 3. Depart responsibilities, may repay 110,000 financial assistance to the city to assist in the expansion and parting of the city's electrical utility infrastructure. Thank you. I was wondering if we needed to put a time frame in there. When they should do that. And then the other thing was, right up below at section 4, that with 30-day notice, they're able to get out of the contract that they'll be signing. So what if they haven't paid the 110,000 yet? And here we are depending on it and made plans. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They won't do that, but you know, we are a legal entity, so those are my 2 takeaways.
I guess I will note, the city attorney had not looked at it as well. I want to get all of your feedback, questions like this. And when I look at it multiple times, you get billed multiple times.
Okay, so that was my only input.
Any other questions, comments?
I agree. I like the same thing. Thank you for thinking of that.
On the section 1, mutual responsibilities, A, that says electrics, if both parties agree to develop sufficient electrical service. It's kind of a gray area, but sufficient, that could mean a lot,
Yeah,
yeah. So do we want to put in a cap of power or agree to?
no, I don't think we want to pigeonhole ourselves for a specific amount of power.
Up to,
I wouldn't even do that.
Okay.
I mean,
I just wonder if there's something that we can,
Would we want to limit it to the percent of power we have available? A sufficient electrical service within the industrial park. Not to exceed. What percentage can we live with? Can we?
Like to reserve for them?
Well, sure, we can give them up to a certain percentage of our power, or yes, or we can say not to exceed.
and
I guess
the
it's
old,
the thing.
and the old one, didn't we have it was an amount, set amount? wasn't it?
Correct, but that's when they were gonna give us an additional $2 million. And now they're not, so we're not gonna hold it to, they wanted a guarantee of a certain amount of power if we were giving that much money. Now they're not asking for that.
Okay,
I mean, we could continue with vague terms that say still allows enough sufficient electricity for city electrical needs outside of the industrial park, or we could come to some percentage. I mean, should they go like cloud-based or big things again, and we need to cap it?
Councilmember Kevin?
It seems that Mr. Miller has been wanting this for quite a while and has been an expert in this, and I'd like to hear what his comments are.
Sorry.
Councilmember Miller?
What was that question?
I want to hear what your expertise is.
My expertise. Oh, I have some questions about this thing, especially section 1B. Rates and system development charges. Both parties agree to negotiate and cooperate to create special rates designed to increase new businesses and add jobs in the community. When we did our rate structure, we placed a higher rate on industrial or outside of that business park in our city limits. So how can we grant them special rates or cheaper rates inside the park? How fair and equal is that? So, of course, it does say negotiate, so I think I haven't been able to go through this thing because I don't have the packet. I just got it online at 4:30, so I haven't been able to compare it with the old one yet until I have a little more time to read it over. I can't really give you a lot.
To answer some of that question, the new rate we just passed does allow for negotiation training over 1 megawatt. So I think the premise was that they would be bringing in large scale businesses over 1 megawatt, and we can negotiate what that rate would be.
Okay.
Should that be included?
We can, I mean, it's up to,
Like, no, I want to validate Mr. Miller's points, and that makes complete sense. And like, why should one get favorability because they are in the port versus the company that's on Schneider's land, not with that rate?
well, they would get the same thing also. I mean, any business, regardless of where it is, negotiates the rate if they're over 1 megawatt.
Okay.
If they're 0.999 megawatts, then they're still at the commercial rate, so they're out of luck.
But it's, I guess I want to reiterate what I heard from Mr. Miller, is that both parties agree to negotiate, there's no set.
Gotcha, so like mentioning within the parameters of our current rate
Yeah.
structure.
Something like that.
Yeah, because the way that I read that too was that they could, at a regular commercial or industrial rate, they could, because the port, they're on port land, like Mr. Miller said.
Yeah.
They could negotiate a lower rate to incentivize. And I don't know how I feel about that, especially since we kind of need the businesses that come in to pay the rates that they're paying so that we can all afford the power that we're buying.
I will note also the development charges, or certain development charges can't be negotiated, those are fees that have to, if changed, you need to go to a vote of the people, so. We're on that one out there, so I'll need to update that, I didn't catch it until after I submitted this. Which has his hand up?
Yeah, I'm just
Miller?
going back to B where it says create a special rate. That's a different rate than normal. And also, does that include? Now, the port is supplying, basically, they are supplying the electricity. We supply the port, they supply the business. Are they tacking on a little extra for themselves? So is that included in there?
It is not, but they can certainly do that. If they want to buy the power themselves and then distribute it out to their customers, and that's completely up to them.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything preventing it, as long as our bill gets paid, and they can recharge it however they want.
Any other comments on it? Sounds like.
I agree with Tammy's, I think the point about the $110,000 for effective financial assistance. Would like it to be made sure that there is a date. And a like proratedness maybe on things so that if this agreement. Gets backed out of, falls apart, then we're not left holding the bag. And that we do. When we make these projects, we have some financial assurances. Cause a lot of this is for. I mean, explicitly, some of this is for the port, to provide them with better power and adequate needs. It would be nice to have some, instead of us promising everything to them, have them promise some stuff to us.
Okay. Any other comments or feedback?
What's next that it goes to the attorney to look at? Is that?
I can bring another draft at the next council meeting for your council's approval, or at least at the discussion level. Once there's a general consensus on discussion, it will then go to the attorney for review.
What's the deadline?
There isn't really a deadline. This needs to be in place before the EDA will give us a penny. But there's also some other things we need to get done, like the substation purchase. There's about 3 or 4 things that we need to have completed and sent over for them to approve before they'll give us any money. So because we haven't started spending, $500,000 on anything yet, it's not needed this second, but sooner than later. So within the next, I will hopefully 2 months. Is my goal.
So the substation is like April?
No, February, next month.
So maybe for A, where sufficient, somehow you working while maintaining so many watts for city development growth, or how, I don't know the best words to use, but do you understand what I'm asking for? Well,
For section 1A.
yes, so we're gonna develop sufficient electrical service within the Portland Industrial Park while also maintaining, because we're not gonna just give them whatever they want, while also maintaining, I don't know if it's best to say that in wattage for our city development and growth, or if it's best to say in percentage, or.
And Jordan, on section 2B, on page 2, it states it again. City agrees being able to coordinate a port to ensure sufficient power capacity. It uses the word sufficient again.
Oh, 2B.
Yeah.
2B.
So, 2.
Right, so you want to change that?
It's saying it's sufficient, just, we could put some parameters on that, or. I don't know, it just would open it up, I think, to, when somebody says, one person's definition of sufficient is maybe different from another.
Well, maintaining blank watts for the city, if we do housing developments and put in a hospital or, we can't give them the power that we need because they think that it's sufficient. We need it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
I
you
don't
got-
know what that cap is.
Is there a hard number or a percentage of capacity?
I feel like the hard number gets kind of in the percentage, like it's the same kind of thing where it kind of pens us in where we're like, well, we can't build any more than this because we promised this amount of wattage for the port, and the port would love that. And it's the same thing as like, what if we say we need to keep this amount of power for us and we need more than that, but the port's not using anything. So like, we put ourselves in this like, if we start saying like, oh, we can only use this much, or you can only use this much, then when we reach those limits, we're contractually obligated to follow them. We can't just go, yeah, oh, that doesn't work for us, sorry, and keep making more.
This is kind of where it gets tricky. So if the scope of work submitted gets approved and we build as I presented earlier this month, we'll go from 14 to 40 megawatts, which for the most part is plenty for the city. Unless we get large cloud-based data farms, cryptocurrency, where if that does happen, we can require them to put in their own transformer. They would have to pay for the infrastructure, so that can kind of go around our capacity to increase. If they want to come in and you know, request 30 megawatts, they're gonna have to provide the facilities to do it. The ask by Roundhouse for the city to provide the capacity for 40 megawatts, and without them putting in their own transformer, is not normal. I know Google and Amazon are completely different scales, but they put in their own transformers, they pay for all of that electricity. And they do separate contracts with, I think it's Umatilla County and North Wasco PDs. Yeah, definitely.
Councilmember Miller?
Yeah, I have that whole B thing there needs to be thrown out or rewritten somehow, because sufficient power capacity is available for recruitment of all types and sizes of businesses. I mean, yeah, a mega Google plan out there would never be able to do it. They'd have to build their own. And some of those generators that they have it's like their transformers is 110 compared to our 40. So I mean, they're way out there. And also types of businesses. Are there some businesses that we absolutely do not want? You know, I mean, do we want it to be a cow raising area? You know, like one of those mega farms? No. So I think we need to, the port needs to come out and tell us exactly what type of businesses that they're going to recruit for out there. And then let us work on that one. But to leave that open-ended like that just makes us liable.
Well, part of that is answered by land use. I mean, what it's zoned as limits it, because I mean, it's not zoned, I don't think, for farm. But we can also add more to your first point there, we can add a provision that if it's a business requiring more than 10 megawatts, they provide their own transformer. Some kind of verbiage like that.
Councilmember Baker?
And how about, on the line with Councilman Miller's comments, we get rid of the word all and say many. That might help a little. And then if you like the ambiguity, I like adding the caveat for over 10 megawatts. But if you like the ambiguity of sufficient, then at the end of 1A and 2B, we say while maintaining sufficient electrical service to and within the city of Cascade locks. So that we can both argue over what's sufficient. If that's the ambiguity you like with the cap of the 10 megawatts. We just have to not just say, we're gonna give you anything without saying, we also get to say what's sufficient. I just wanna make sure that that in there is saying, that we don't forget we need sufficient power too.
I agree with that.
There's letter, you got it.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
So I will draft this up again with these recommended changes. Would council like me to have the attorney review it beforehand or come back directly to council?
Council what to do.
I say attorney review would be useful, and does he ever recommend to protect will he make recommendations on verbiage?
Oh, yes, oh, yeah,
We'll look at that.
yeah, his job is, yeah, to protect the city, yeah.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
City Administrator Bennett report.
All right, not a super long report today. Record Creek project update. I met with lobbyist Julio to take up the speed on the project and go over how to approach the request. She'll be reaching out to legislators and to state agencies as well. She's working on setting up meetings with them. She's requested that I attend some of those meetings in early to mid-February, so at some point I'll be heading over to Salem. I did request Tessa a test to provide written updates at all council meetings moving forward. So she will have a written update of the February 12th meeting. That'll be 1 week into the session. I am asking her to write them on the day of the council meeting, because if she did it the week before to put it in the packet, it's gonna be old news by the time we actually get to the council meeting. So it'll be written that day of and then added into the packet as an amendment. The Oregon Transportation Infrastructure Bank has approved our loan application. They are awaiting the design specifications from the engineers to finalize the request, so that is moving forward. BKI Engineering is working to finalize the design, working with ODOT and Oregon Parks and Recreation Department to ensure all permits are secured. For 90% of this project, it is within ODOT's right of way. There's one little spur out on the actual path that goes over the creek that is outside of ODOT's right of way and in Parks Department property, so we're having to get a permit from them to attach to the bridge. And then we'll have to do a temporary closure permit as well, as we'll close that path for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks at the high end to do the work. EDA grant scope of work request, change, working with McKed, for the scope of work change discussed at the last work session was officially submitted on January 22nd. Today, the investment review committee will meet to review the question, I'm not sure I put a question there, the scope of work change on February 7th. So hopefully by February 12th, our next council meeting, I'll have an answer. I'm not sure how fast they're gonna move though and make a decision. City Hall operations and employee handbook. We are almost 4 months into our 6-month trial of the 4-day work week for city operations. I will be reaching out to the community in February to get feedback per council's request. I did reach out to City County Insurance Services, more commonly known as CIS, to review our employee handbook. It has not been updated since 2019. The state of Oregon and federal government have made substantial changes to employment laws since last reviewed. I did get the reviewed handbook back. I spent 3 hours going over it with the staff from CIS. She's cleaning it up. We will then put our specific items, like our operations, how we want to handle things internally. They will review it again. My plan is to have presented at the March 11th council meeting, the finalized handbook, the feedback from staff and from the community on how this operational change has happened and how it's affected them, and a vote to request to make the 4-day work week permanent. So that is my time frame for the 4-day work. And that's all I got.
Next question. Sure. With our lobbyist, are we paying her just monthly so that in case she decides that it's not working out, she can't get any put in for our cause, remember she said that she would prorate or whatever?
Yeah.
So are we paying her monthly so that we?
Yes, yeah, we get monthly invoices, and then if it's halfway through the month, she'll prorate it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, let's move on to mayor and councilor comments. Councilmember Miller, how would you like to go first? On Zoom?
Well, I've just been hunkered down at home all this time. I don't have really much to say. I don't understand why. I guess some of you guys didn't have cell phone service. My cell phone works fine the whole time. In fact, of course, I keep a spare battery charger, my jumper for the car. It's a portable, and I can charge my cell phone on it too. So I didn't have any problem losing power with my cell phone. And I would call anybody I wanted to. So I don't know why the city had that problem with calling out. And the only other thing I saw was League of Oregon City Spring Conference in Klamath Falls. They were opening up registration on, I guess, February 2nd. So if you want to submit for a scholarship, that's the time to submit it or to get it done. That's it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Farrell?
My phone was intermittent. It would be on for, go off for 30 minutes and then it would come back on, just back and forth. Okay. I was wondering if BPA is giving us any explanations. Do they, I know they're the kings and we're not allowed to ask questions, but do you think we'll get any?
I haven't officially asked, but I definitely can. They're not gonna tell us without asking. So
Right.
if council wants an answer and what the heck happened, I will ask.
Let you guys figure that out. And I was wondering, and I know it was said somewhere, who did the shuttle service down to? Someone, Cat, it was Cat that took Cat, would come up and get someone and take them down there.
They did 2 trips, I think.
Okay, because I'm thinking if we have it, if we do end up getting a warming shelter down at the pavilion, that's gonna be a problem with the ice that we've had people getting down there. I know I wouldn't be able to do it.
We can include that in an emergency meeting.
Yeah, a shuttle.
Logistics.
And then I was just gonna rattle off some thank yous and I'll be like that, like the credits at the end of a good movie, I'll say. So, there were lots of people helping me and there were a lot of people that I noted helping communities. So, big shout out to, Melissa and Craig Martin, who helped me with my generator. People that brought me groceries, Ken and Caroline. Baron Lorraine, who was going around bringing food to people and helped, a neighbor down the street, warm up her pipes underneath until the power went off and then it didn't matter again. Of course, Thunder Island for the tent and Chief Logan, Rob Peterson, Jeremiah, the Canoe Club, city workers and staff, the L House for breakfast feeding everyone, who could make it down there. Counselor Denise checking on my daughter. Daryl Crowley, getting the snow out in many people's yards and behind my Jeep. And, the 2 young, men that helped me today, do a pathway, Maximus and Isaac. And I'm glad this storm's over with.
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
Councilmember.
Thank you. I appreciate your sharing that. Thanks. And I just want to point out that this is the part of why I love Cascade Locks, is watching people step in and call each other and help each other and reaching out. And I hope that we will make that more welcoming to ask for help and, folks with this, that the city would come and shut off water mains for people. I don't know if that's common, but that's fabulous because my friends, on Monapa, we were so worried that their pipes might burst and we didn't know how to shut it off. And so I just see the best in Cascade Locks when something like this happens. And some folks from the city said, well, come and stay here or whatever, and I'm like, no, I wanna be here, and our community's taking care of each other. So on that note, yes, the pavilion is a governmental building, and I worry, and I think somebody mentioned it might not be good for disability or feeling stuck. It's another place to be stuck, you know, there's no way, one way in and out. That we may need to look at, is there money somehow to proceed with or can we find money for the second phase of the fire station or the public-private partnerships, small heat buildings to heat, you know, working with whether it's thirsty or I don't wanna choose the business, but somewhere central, because there were a lot of people that were able to walk to the one at Thunder Island. I noticed people walking. And then I wanted to say, that, Main Street, I will report on that because we are still a Connected Communities City member, hoping to get the application in. There was a nonprofit meeting earlier. And hopefully by January 30th, I wanted to point out to this body and folks listening that I receive a plethora of emails about grant opportunities. I'm not sure the best way to disseminate that information. There was some discussion, and I don't know if the council thinks that this would be great to have a grant writing committee. I see also emails about free grant writing seminars. So I just want to put that out there, and if y'all have ideas, email me. Do I send you those? I often still forward things to city administrator, mayor, forward things to the board if it's appropriate, historical museum if it's historically related, so on that note, the rare application time is coming in April. I forgot what rare stands for, rural. We had rare interns some years ago that I heard did great things here. There will be some workshops about how to apply, and apparently you get folks who either just graduated, or who are almost graduated in these fields, working for a very low amount of money, dedicated to a year to the project. I made a presentation to this council last year, knowing that we wouldn't do anything until the next application season. So it's something I wanna pique your interest in, and I'm not sure again how to proceed. If it's an agenda item, if we wanna make a temporary committee, just wanna put that out there, and I will continue to follow up. And, I just wanted to, say thank you, John Logan, is so much giving us, reports. Thank you to our electrical and, our public works for the reports and the things that they did. I'm gonna go back to loving when, Tiffany Pruitt brought in Special Olympics information, and we had a photo op. I would, again, love to put on our agenda some special recognition each month. Again, I don't know how that's chosen. This month there's so many, but I love seeing that positive community input. And finally, I just want to say that apparently, there were some comments made to the other Denise Baker in town, when folks thought it was my comments, and I'm very proud of the other Denise Baker, who does a lot of the cleaning up work with Bernard's cleanup team. And some of the comments were not positive, persons thinking that she was me. And I'm hoping that in this community where I think the people I love, this community, that the negative comments on Facebook are not hurtful, and to please be careful. Because in this instance, there are two Denise Bakers. So please be careful, that you are careful in what you post and how you post it. I mean, I appreciate respectful disagreement. And when I see that somebody is hurt because she shared the same name with me, I don't appreciate that. So that is just a lesson for all of us. And I think that's it.
Councilmember Keller?
First, it was my understanding when we surplus the generator that we were looking at getting using those funds to get generators for this building?
Correct.
And would those be able to power an HVAC? I mean, I don't know what kind of system this building has, but could they power some heat for the gymnasium here?
Yes, it'd be wired into the entire system.
Yeah.
And so we get
So we got rid of one, and now we're gonna get some two for this
the
building.
wrong size. We're getting one for this building, but it was the wrong size.
Yeah. Okay, and then, my other question is that we were late getting the council packets for today because of the weather and access to the materials, and that is why it was late.
Correct, yes, yeah, we closed Tuesday at 1 to make sure we were out of here in time for the ice storm. And to get it put together, the packet, everything scanned, they don't have any scanning equipment, especially for this size of packet at all.
Okay, and then secondly, I wanna echo, Ms. Emmeline Baker's thoughts about living in this community and seeing the vast wealth of volunteerism that exists and the willing to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of our community. And that's why I love living in this place. And I also want to say that I value the disagreement that exists within this council. That's where our compromise is created. When I heard Mr. Miller's comments about the action items, that wasn't something that I had thought of, and I was like, why not? And then because of that compromise, we were able to postpone those. I would ask that all the necessary information is available to all the members of the council regarding committee appointments. There was lots of things I didn't understand that were existed, and I tried to get those things out in open into the public. And so that I can make the best decision possible within that. And then an overwhelming gratitude and expression of thanks for all members of the city staff. Thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Compton?
I want to thank all city staff for helping keeping this town running, especially in unfortunate and emergency situations. And I love this town too, because of how well we come together when things are tough. I spoke to a neighbor just yesterday and he was very happy and surprised with all the people willing to give rides, helping clear, shovel driveways to get people out so they can get their cars out. And all the good things that come from this type of thing. I know that the city would like to do more in these situations if only we had the money. And I just want to thank Denise and Tammy for reaching out to my family to make sure that we were all safe. We had to get out of town when the power was out because with a newborn and everything, it's just not safe to stay in a cold building. Thank you.
All right, gosh, yeah, that's good. First of all, thank you, City Administrator Bennett and Logan. You were in constant communication, constant through the whole storm and all of the challenges. My hat's off. You did a really good job communicating. Chief Logan did as well, his whole team. It's kind of, you know, you're getting bombarded by all these messages, like what are they doing, what's going on, but we were very proactive, and so we were able to answer lots of those questions. Certainly, Sheldon, Derek, the whole team, they did just really well. I appreciate them coming and presenting tonight as well. Thank you to Thunder Island for opening up the Warming Center and doing that. Rob Peterson, holy cow, that guy went above and beyond, along with Nick. I think he's one of the managers at Thunder Island. Rob brought in power packs, everything. He camped out there. He was there the whole day. Thank you to Councilmember Denise E. Baker. You were down there with food. Jackie Chan sharing food with people. It was really heartwarming to see the public come together. There was a young gal, there was an elderly gal that came over, didn't have pee. And she was so cold and she didn't have socks. And, there was, community member, one of my neighbors, young gal, who works at Thunder Island, she was there helping, and they found a pair of socks, got a pair of socks on the gal, so those are the type of things that, you know, really warm your heart. Shelley, the Ale House, thank you for her opening up, feeding so many people, delivering pizzas, she delivered, I think, 27 pizzas. She did a great, really great job. Thank you to Councilman Miller for attending on Zoom. I know it could be tough sometimes, you can't hear everything. Big thanks to Hood River County Sheriff, I can't count how many times, it was late. One time it was like maybe 1 a.m. even, and I saw it, I thought, who was driving? It was our sheriff. And so in the neighborhood, just doing patrols, they did a great job. Thank you, Baron Lorang, he was called to go help a citizen, he left. You know, to go to help the gal, and then got his truck stolen. He left it running because it was so cold, and then big thanks to Janetta, Blue. She said, I'm gonna find it, and sure enough, it was parked at Walmart. So, that's a great way of, community working together. Thank you to Captain Tom and George with the whole stern wheeler, I mean, that. If you haven't seen the film footage, watch it, it was really it was a scary thing. Thank you to the port as well for communicating with you and Chief Logan. They did a really good job, they did everything that they could do. Also, to reiterate, Councilmember Miller, that the LOC, April, I think it's 25th, 26th, 27th, the spring workshop. But if you haven't been to a workshop and if you can swing it, I highly recommend it. You get a lot out of it, you learn a lot, and I encourage any, council members that are interested in going, sign up and apply for that grant. We've been pretty fortunate, we've received a lot of grants, and this conference is down towards Cape Falls. So it's a little bit of a difference, it's about 5.5 hour drive from here. So it's a commitment to do, but if you think you wanna go or can schedule it, make sure you apply for a grant. And let's see, what else? You know, going back to community, support and being positive, and, I just wanted to, I wanna read this, I thought it was probably one of the most well-said posts, and, it was from Charlie Brigham, and I just want to read it, it's not long. It says, well, think the storm is just about over for us in Cascade Lost hope. We all made it through okay, even the stern wheeler made it okay. Heard of some broken pipes, but hopefully not too bad. Hope, we all will be more prepared for the next one, if we get one. After reading comments throughout the storm, no, not everyone was happy with things, plowing / not plowing, the order of plowing. If they plowed, where they put the snow, no mail, which yes, that's an inconvenience, but if the roads were closed / bad, can't or shouldn't blame the drivers and or whoever else. Oh, losing power, good job to all that helped someone check on someone, offered to do errands, businesses open so people could get out, but also have someplace to get warm. There were good things for sure. Way to go, Cascade Locks, for help. And I thought that was really, really well said. And I did see a lot of community support, and you know, there's just a few that want to bash, you know, the negative part of it, but there was so much community support, and I just really want to thank everybody who came together. And with that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second by Mark.
Discussion. All right, hearing no discussion, can we vote?
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker,
Aye.
Farrell. Aye. Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Kell.
Meeting is adjourned.